Welcome to the Business English Podcast, the centre of the universe if you want to unlock the secrets of mastering English in the professional business world. I'm Rob, your guide on this journey, and today we're diving into a topic that's a bit like walking a tightrope in the professional arena, dealing with disagreements. Now, picture this. You're in a meeting and a proposal comes up, and you know it's not quite right. But how do you say that without stepping on toes, putting somebody's nose out of joint, or worse, causing a standoff? In this episode, titled Dealing with Disagreements, How to Bite the Bullet, we're not just learning to disagree, that is fairly basic stuff. No, we're mastering the art of doing so with grace and precision in advanced English. We'll explore various types of disagreements and learn how to articulate our differences in ways that are both effective and impressive, a surefire, powerful position that all professionals need to achieve. But here's a bit of a loaded question to ponder. Is it always about what you say, or could how you say it make all the difference? Keep that in mind as we navigate through today's episode. We'll start by breaking down disagreements into categories: strategic, operational, ethical, and personal preferences. For each, I'll introduce phrases that can be deployed at a moment's notice as your secret weapon in the boardroom. And it's not just about the phrases, it's about why and how we use them. We'll dissect each one, understanding its nuances and the situations where it shines the brightest. And here's another intriguing question relating to disagreements. How can you oppose an idea without opposing the person who presented it? Stick around because we'll unravel that mystery too. Our aim? To equip you with a toolkit of phrases so versatile and powerful, they'll not only help you navigate, but also excel in complex professional conversations. By the end of this episode, you'll be ready to handle any curveball a meeting throws at you with confidence and eloquence. So let's get ready to transform every disagreement from a potential conflict into an opportunity for growth and collaboration. If you've seen this done firsthand, it is a real skill to admire, a true magic trick if there ever was one. Remember, it's not just about disagreeing, it's about doing it in a way that propels you and your team forward. So let's bite the bullet and dive in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Business English Podcast, helping professionals communicate more effectively, more confidently, and with impact. With your host, Rob, from Energetic English. Let's get down to business. So today we're navigating the sometimes choppy waters of disagreements in the business world. You know, disagreements are like spices in a dish. Too little and things are bland, too much and it's overwhelming. The key is finding that perfect balance. Let's start by understanding the nature of disagreements in a business setting. Think about it. Have you ever had a disagreement at work? Of course you have. We all have. It's natural. Disagreements can come up over strategy, ethics, operations, or even personal preferences. But what sets a professional apart is not just what they say, but how they say it. So let's take a moment to better understand these different scenarios and what we can do about them. First up, let's talk about strategic disagreements. These are disagreements about the direction in which a project or company should head. Imagine someone suggests a strategy that you believe is not viable. Instead of a flat-out no, try saying, "I appreciate your perspective, but have we considered the potential risks involved? I appreciate your perspective, but have we considered the potential risks involved?" This phrase does two things. It shows respect for the other person's idea while gently introducing your concerns. Moving on to operational disagreements. These are more about the how of things, the processes and methods. You might hear a proposed method and think, well, that's not going to work. Instead of shooting it down, how about, your approach is interesting. Could we also explore how it aligns with our current systems and processes? Your approach is interesting. Could we also explore how it aligns with our current systems and processes? Then there are ethical disagreements. These can be tricky as they often involve personal values. Let's say a decision doesn't sit well with your ethical compass. Instead of a tone of accusation, try, I understand the practical benefits of this approach, but let's also consider the ethical implications to ensure that we uphold the company's values. I understand the practical benefits of this approach, but let's also consider the ethical implications to ensure we uphold our company's values. This phrase positions you not as a naysayer, but as a guardian of the company's integrity. And finally, disagreements based on personal preferences. These are often the most subjective, but can be equally impactful. Suppose you disagree with a choice based on your preference. A diplomatic way to express this could be, I see the appeal in your suggestion. From my experience, however, I've found a different approach to be more effective. Could we discuss the pros and cons of both? I see the appeal in your suggestion. From my experience, however, I've found a different approach to be more effective. Could we discuss the pros and cons of both? This invites a discussion rather than a conflict. Now, if you are getting huge value out of this episode, do make sure that you're subscribed to the channel to make sure you don't miss out on all the other great advanced English content we produce. So, as we wrap up this part of the discussion, remember, disagreements are not just challenges, they're opportunities for growth, learning, and collaboration. The phrases we've explored are your first step towards mastering this art. In our next section, we'll dive into how to express disagreement tactfully and effectively. Stay tuned and let's turn every disagreement into a stepping stone for professional excellence. Okay, this is where things get even more intriguing. We're about to dive into the heart of our topic today, expressing disagreement tactfully in a professional setting. Let's start with the phrase, while I see the merits in this approach, have we considered? This is a classic in the world of strategic disagreement. It's like saying, I hear you, but let's look at the bigger picture. Why is this phrase so effective? It acknowledges the other person's viewpoint before introducing your own perspective. It's not just polite, it's strategically empathetic. Now, repeat after me. While I see the merits in this approach, have we considered? Feel the balance it brings to your tone. It's assertive yet respectful. Let's put this into context. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone proposes a high-risk strategy. Instead of shooting it down, you use our phrase. While I see the merits in this approach, have we considered the potential impact on our current client base? You've just opened the floor for a more in-depth discussion without discrediting the initial idea. Moving on, how about when you face an operational disagreement? Try this phrase. Your approach is interesting. Could we also explore how it aligns with our current systems and processes? This phrase is a gem. It shows openness to new ideas while subtly steering the conversation towards feasibility and integration with existing workflows. Let's practice. Your approach is interesting. Could we also explore how it aligns with our current systems and processes? Notice how it invites collaboration rather than confrontation? Picture this. Your team is discussing a new process that might disrupt the workflow. Using our phrase, you're not just saying no, you're inviting a collaborative exploration of how this new process fits into the bigger picture. Now, ethical disagreements. They require a delicate touch. How about, I understand the practicality of this decision, however, from an ethical standpoint, this phrase is powerful. It shows you're not just considering the practical aspects, but also the moral implications. Repeat with me. I understand the practicality of this decision, however, from an ethical standpoint, It positions you as someone who values ethics alongside practicality. Imagine you're discussing a decision that might compromise ethical standards. Using this phrase, you're not just raising an objection, you're advocating for the company's ethical values. As we all know as professionals, the more options you have available to use in any situation, the stronger your position will be. So, for all the BEP Premium members, I will be building upon these phrases with more options for you to use to give you that extra little bit of edge next time you're in a difficult spot. Check it out in the membership site. So stay tuned as we delve deeper into seeking common ground while maintaining your stance. It's all about turning every conversation into an opportunity for constructive dialogue and mutual growth. See you in the next section. Now, we're about to master the art of seeking common ground. It's all about turning a potential standoff into a harmonious symphony, a point of friction into something smoother, a problem into an opportunity. Ready to dive in? First up, let's explore this phrase. Perhaps we can find a middle ground by... It's like extending an olive branch in the conversation. But why does this work so well? It shifts the focus from conflict to compromise. It's not about winning, it's about finding a solution that benefits everyone. Let's try it out. Say it with me. Perhaps we can find a middle ground by... Notice how it instantly softens the tone of the conversation. Imagine you're in a meeting and opinions are sharply divided. By using this phrase, you're not just calming the waters, you're actively steering the conversation towards a solution that everyone can agree on. Next, consider this phrase. Could we explore a compromise where... This is a power move in the language of negotiation. It shows that you're open to other perspectives and willing to work towards a mutually beneficial outcome. Say it with me. Could we explore a compromise where... It's like saying, I'm ready to meet halfway. Picture this scenario. Your team is at loggerheads over a project's direction. Introduce this phrase and suddenly you're opening a pathway to collaborative problem solving. But wait, there is a twist. How do you maintain your position while still being open to compromise? A paradoxical situation, and it's a delicate balance. In our next section, we'll delve into how to achieve this without losing sight of your own goals. As we wrap up this section, remember the goal is not to eliminate disagreements, it's to harness them for creative, collaborative solutions. The phrases we've covered are your bridge builders in the world of business communication. Stay tuned because up next, we're going to tackle complex disagreements with advanced expressions. It's about elevating your language to match the complexity of the situation. See you in the next section. Now, we're entering the territory of complex disagreements, the kind that require not just tact, but a dash of sophistication in your language. Let's elevate our conversation to match these intricate scenarios. Let's begin with this phrase. In light of the various perspectives, it might be beneficial to... This phrase is like a conductor harmonizing different sections of the orchestra. It acknowledges the diversity of opinions and gently suggests a new direction. Try saying it. In light of the various perspectives, it might be beneficial to... Feel how it positions you as someone who values all viewpoints and seeks a comprehensive solution. Imagine you're in a meeting with multiple conflicting opinions. This phrase doesn't just diffuse the tension, it redirects the discussion towards a constructive outcome. Next up, have a think about this phrase. Considering the complexity of this issue, we should perhaps revisit... This is your go-to phrase for when the waters are murky and the path forward is unclear. It's an invitation to step back, reassess and approach the problem with renewed perspective. Repeat after me. Considering the complexity of this issue, we should perhaps revisit... It's a way of saying, let's make sure we're on the right track without dismissing the progress made so far. Now, let's add another layer. How about when you need to challenge a prevailing idea without alienating your colleagues? Try this. While I understand the popular stance on this, my experience suggests a different approach might yield better results. It's respectful yet assertive. Let's practice it together. While I understand the popular stance on this, my experience suggests a different approach might yield better results. It subtly introduces your experience as a valuable asset in the conversation. As we conclude this part of our discussion, remember, complex disagreements are not just challenges, they're opportunities to showcase your strategic thinking and communication finesse. The phrases we've explored are your keys to unlocking successful outcomes in even the most intricate conversations. So, from while I see the merits in this approach, have we considered, to considering the complexity of this issue, we should perhaps revisit. We've armed ourselves with an arsenal of expressions designed to navigate through various types of disagreements. As we often highlight on the show, these phrases aren't just words, they're tools to build bridges, foster understanding, and drive constructive outcomes. But let's pause and reflect. Isn't it fascinating how changing a few words can alter the entire tone of a conversation? How using tact and diplomacy can transform potential conflict into opportunities for collaboration and innovation. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the power of language in the business world. Practice these phrases, experiment with them in your own conversations, and observe the impact they have. You'll be surprised at how small changes in your language can lead to significant shifts in your professional relationships and success. I will leave you with this thought. In the world of business, disagreements are inevitable, but the way that we handle them make all the difference. Embrace these challenges as opportunities to demonstrate your expertise, your empathy, and of course, your eloquence. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Business English Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll dive into another fascinating aspect of business communication. Until then, keep practicing, stay curious, and naturally, keep it strictly business. You have been listening to the Business English Podcast. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and we'll see you next time.